Hey guys, welcome back to SkillCapped. Today we're going over each of these weapons in the game, what you should be doing with them, their strengths, weaknesses, recoil, some of them. Yeah, so let's get to it. So to start, the classic. This is a free weapon. You get it every round. It's not super inaccurate from long range, but it's not the most accurate weapon in the game. It has two fire modes. It has the left click that I just showed you, and then up close you have the right click. When you right click with this weapon, it's sort of like a shotgun. But be careful not to spam it, is because the more you spam it, the more inaccurate it gets and the more useless it is. So just depending on the range of your opponent, that's whether or not you want to do a left or right click, you know? Yeah, it's a pretty decent weapon. If you're out of ammo, pull it out. You probably don't want to reload in some situations, sort of like in other video games. Shorty. This is pretty self-explanatory. It is a shorty. It is a short shotgun. You want to play very, very close with this weapon. It's strong up close, pretty strong up close. Not much to say about it. It's pretty cheap, only $150. Next is a frenzy. The frenzy, I'm pretty sure, does the same amount of damage as the classic. Very, very similar. Not exactly the same, but like very slightly under longer ranges than the classic. But it's like a little what's that gun called? Like a Tech 9, I guess. I think they use it in CS. Okay, but regardless, it's a little mini machine gun. Let me do infinite ammo off so you guys can see. You know, at close range, this gun's really effective. On the move, it's really effective. Like if you're running by somebody, you're doing a little drive by. Like if somebody you know is in this corner, you could like mow them down, sort of. So yeah, this gun's pretty cheap, $450. Depending on what you want to do in a certain round, that really dictates what kind of gun you want to buy. If you're gonna play close quarters, like if you're playing Jet. If you haven't seen her ability, she dashes into people's faces, kind of. You probably want to buy like a frenzy. If you're gonna like do something like peek tiles, a ghost might be, or peek from catwalk. Let me drop these barriers so you can see. If you're gonna peek this angle, a ghost might be better, or maybe a sheriff, right? But let's talk about the ghost first. So the ghost is a very accurate pistol from long range. It does a decent amount of damage. Those are the stats to the right: 105 headshot damage and 30 body. So obviously rewards those head taps. Not 100% accurate, but it's pretty accurate. That'll usually be a headshot. And a pistol round, this is really good. If you plan on taking a longer range duel, you could strafe around with it a lot. Do a lot of damage. It's a decent gun, 500 credits, only 50 more than the frenzy. Pretty popular choice on pistol round. Yeah, not bad. Sheriff. Now this, my friends, is probably one of the best guns in the game for its price range. For 800 credits, you can one-tap headshot somebody from close to medium range, but at far range, it only does 145 damage. But the Sheriff is really good for only 800 credits. You'll see a lot of pro players use this gun a lot because, well, they're pros, and they can hit heads pretty easily. So one shot can literally determine the outcome of a round. Like, let's say you kill a guy here, and then your team swarms around him, like you grab the rifle, now your team has a rifle and some sheriffs, and then you start snowballing out of control. So this gun's really good. You don't want to spam it because it gets really inaccurate. What you want to do instead is just, space out your shots. Like, you don't want to spam it too much, but you still should know like how much you can, I shouldn't say spam, but how fast you can click. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is a really good gun. 6 shots in it. Make sure that you have good mechanics if you're going to end up using this weapon. You know what I mean? So good weapon for 800 credits. 950. The Stinger. Stinger costs 950. This is a little submachine gun. I don't like it. I'll be honest. As of right now in this current patch, I think that this gun isn't very good. I think you're better off just buying a Sheriff and trying to get better with your aim and stuff. This has an ADS mode that isn't the most accurate thing, and the spray itself isn't that good. Let me show. Like this range, it's extremely hard to control. Let me if I pull down a lot. Even then, it's just not a good weapon. I would just buy a frenzy. It does almost the same thing, and you can control this a lot better. Like, this is headshot level. Spectre. So this is another submachine gun. A little more accurate, a lot more accurate actually than the Stinger. Can beam people from a pretty good range. So it just got nerfed, but it's still pretty good. Rip off a couple shots at this range. Good weapon, 1,600 credits. This is what most teams will buy the second round if they win pistol round, or if they're saving, this is a good save weapon. The Bucky, similar to the Shorty, you want to be really up close. Obviously, damage doesn't go very far, and it has a right-click mode. where it'll shoot like a slug, I think is what it's called. See what I'm saying? So if it targets a little more long range, you can, you know, tighten the spread a little bit versus that, you know? So yeah, this gun isn't used as much though. I still don't think this is as good as maybe a Marshal that we'll talk about in a second, or a Sheriff, or, you know, you're kind of cheaping out if you're buying a Bucky. You might as well just buy a Spectre. Judge, this is the Bucky on steroids. Yeah. If anybody walks in your crosshair, they're dead. And it has a little bit of range to it. You know, you can do a decent amount of damage from a certain far range. It's pretty good. If you plan on playing close quarters, or like you can hide in like a smoke. Let's say, for example, you decide to smoke off B main, right? You know the enemies are all in there. You could like sit in here, wait for them to like come at you, and you could just pop. You run at it and like run at them. Like, it's a really good weapon. Pretty good. Next, let's go to the Bulldog. This just got buffed. This is just like, what is it? How do I want to say this? It's a budget assault rifle. Hipfire is pretty decently accurate. ADS is pretty good too. ADS is a 3-round burst. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty accurate. This is a good budget weapon if you don't have the 900 extra credits. Like maybe if you want to buy some extra utility instead, or full armor. I think the Bulldog is a very good weapon to buy. Especially now that they got buffed. I think it's very strong. The Guardian. This is a one-tap headshot at any range. And it is the most accurate gun in the game. ADS, again, very strong. Like, look, you see the spread on that? Super clean. Super tight. It's pretty good. What is it? Body shots do 65 damage too. So even if you're not hitting headshots, you know, 65 damage body shot isn't anything to scoff at. So this is a pretty good gun. If you know you can hit head taps pretty well at a long range, this is definitely a pretty decent weapon for you. A Phantom. Phantom and Vandal are going to be the two main weapons that you buy throughout the course of the game. I would argue to say that they are the best weapons for the game, best weapons in the game. The Phantom is your M4A1 if you play CS:GO. It has a suppressor on it, so something I forgot to mention. Suppressed guns don't have bullet tracers. Yeah, you see them on my screen, but the enemies don't see the bullet tracers. They don't know where you're shooting from. So if let's say, for example, this is smoked off, right? Let's say the enemies are coming in. I could sit here and sort of just spray, and they don't know where I'm spraying from. So that's a big plus with the Phantom. Just had to mention that real quick. But this is a higher rate of fire than the Vandal. It's easier to control the recoil, so you could let off like a decent amount of shots before it gets a little too inaccurate, right? So like that's pretty decent, you know. Yeah, Phantom's pretty good. It does. You have to be careful though, because at close range it one-shot headshots, but at medium range it only does 140, and at a very far range it only does 124. So you have to keep in mind the type of duels you're taking, whether or not they have Vandals or not, because there are rare occasions where you can get head tapped by a Vandal, which one-shot headshots from any range, but you also headshot them, but you only did 140.